Good morning, you beautiful people. I'm going to be doing a short, quick series about divine health. Okay, because a lot of us have been coming out of the church, coming out of religion, raising our vibration, raising our consciousness, and we are tripartite beings. We are a spirit, we are a soul, we are about in a body. Okay, and so we need to be able to have all these three aspects working in harmony. I know a lot of people have been working on the soul, working on their emotions, loving the parts of themselves that need to be seen and loved, integrating these facets. But it has come to my attention recently, and it's been a big part of my journey, that in order to be able to have the consciousness level, to be able to dive deeply into being able to do the internal work and meditate properly and allow the divine to come through in the way that it needs to, we need to have clear consciousness in our soul. We need to have a divine temple. We need to clean our temples. We need to get healthy. We need to do the things that help bring us into a greater level of alignment with brain function, with heart function, with blood sugar regulation, with a ton of different things. And so I have been on this health journey since my early teens for nearly 2 decades. And I've learned a lot along the way. I've been trained as a quantum health coach just in the last 5 years. But most of my understanding, wisdom, and knowledge comes from trial and error on myself and working with other people over the years. I actually had a health coaching business back in 2016 that God told me to lay down after I was going on to an extended water fast, and God just told me to lay everything down because that's when I went through my deconstruction. But since I'll just tell you a little bit about my story. I'll do another testimony that's much more in-depth in the future, but just so you have an understanding about some of the health stuff that I've walked through. So I was a very high-level athlete growing up, one of the top long-distance runners for my age group, which means like if I really pursued it, I probably could have gone to nationals or an Olympic level if I really would have pursued it and saw it of something of importance and value back then. I was just running on all natural ability, and I didn't take it seriously. I didn't consider it to be something of value in my life because I just didn't have that clear direction. But so when I was 14, all throughout junior high, I was the best long distance runner in Edmonton in my age group. I went to provincials. I was one of the top in our province of Alberta. And then when I got into high school, I kind of started to go down the party path, and I started to explore different states of consciousness through alcohol and drugs. I also started overeating tremendously. I basically did everything wrong to change my genes in the direction that you don't want them to be, in the wrong way. And so that is the study of epigenetics. So the old story, lots of paradigms are shifting right now, and I just want to bring people up to date on the quantum perspective of health. There's lots of new sciences that have been emerging in the last 10, 15, 20 years that haven't been mainstream at all. One of them is called epigenetics. See, the old story of genetics is that we are born with a specific set of genes. We have thousands of genes that come in the nucleus of our cells. So our cells, we have trillions of cells in our body, and each cell has organelle in it. But the center of the cell, we have something called a nucleus, and the nucleus is where we carry our RNA and our DNA. Okay, deoxyribose nucleic acid. It is supposedly what makes us who we are. All of our genes. So we have genes that signal how our brain works, how our heart works, how blood regulation works. We have genes that signal so many different things in our body, thousands and thousands of different things. And the old story in the 90s, 80s, 90s, even 2000s, and largely prevailing still, has been that we are doomed to whatever our parents gave us. We are doomed to the genes that our parents gave us. My parents, the story goes like, people say my parents got cancer, I'm probably going to get cancer. Or my parents had heart disease, I'm probably going to get heart disease. These kind of things. That is all fallacy. The new study called epigenetics, which means changing of genetics, shows that actually down to every breath that we take, every meal that we take, if we're getting out in the grass, if we're getting out in the sun, every action and thing that we do actually either positively or negatively flicks our genetic switches to help us be more healthy and more optimized, or to help us or to take us away from health and into sickness and disease. Okay? And so I did in my teens, from about 14 to 25, 26, I did everything in my power to flip all of my genetic switches to create disease, to create disharmony, to create issues in my body. I would stay up for many days on end partying, putting chemicals and different drugs into my system that would not allow me to sleep, that were highly addictive. I went lots of drinking, lots of partying at the bars. I was eating fast food, deep fried foods, lots of saturated, hydrogenated fats and carbs mixed together. And I didn't know anything about nutrition really until I started to get into my early 20s. In my early 20s, I joined this health and wellness company, and it was a supplement company, but they were very focused on helping people change their life. And so they had this contest that was running, and I knew about exercise. I didn't really know about nutrition because of my past in soccer and long distance running. So I started to research nutrition when I started taking these supplements, and I started to learn a lot. I started to learn a lot about micronutrients and the power of food to heal the body, because I never considered that food could actually heal my body. And during that time, like when I, started to get clean, started to come back to spirituality, started to look into nutrition and value those sort of things, I was in my mid-20s, early mid-20s, and I started to realize that I could heal myself, because I had gained probably an extra 50 pounds and I was overweight. And so I joined this competition. It was a North America wide body transformation contest, and my starting weight was about 240 pounds, and in 3 months I dropped down to 185 pounds. I was still in my early 20s. I was 23. The weight came off rather easily and effortlessly. I had a great exercise routine. I was taking high quality supplements, and I started eating in a way that I believed was really healthy, and I transformed my body, and I won this contest, and I was the poster boy for this company, and they flew me out to their headquarters in Salt Lake City, Utah. And it was just a great experience. It was really, really amazing. And so that was the beginning of kind of like, wow, I can actually, change my life and change my body. But what I didn't realize is that as I continued to diet, as so to speak, and I would continue to, go on these kind of extreme diets, or I would try different things. I'm somebody who's tried everything from low carb to high carb to vegan to carnivore to just juice fasting, just a liquid diet to just eggs, to everything. And I've tried so many different things, whole foods, Mediterranean diet. Like, I've tried many different things that they all have a benefit and they can all work for different reasons. But I want to share that with you because after I won that contest, I started going back to my old standard American diet, eating pizza, eating a bunch of crap. And what ended up happening is within the course of a couple months, I was back to weighing the same that I had weighed before. And I was blown away because of how fast my body put weight back on, where like I was surrounded by my brother who's always got a rippling six pack and he can eat whatever he wants. And my dad's always been fairly slimmer and stronger and worked out quite a bit. And so for me, I didn't realize why I was gaining weight so quickly, why I was starting to puff back up and get really sick again and all this stuff. And I started to feel really bad. And I've always had, I was diagnosed with ADHD. So I've always had this level of inability to concentrate, or anxiety and depression and mental stuff that I've walked through and had to balance in my life. And I didn't realize any of that was correlated to diet. And so long story short, when I got into my 30s, so from the first time I went on a diet was for running, actually, when I was 16. and I went on a very, very low carb diet, and I ended up losing about 20 or 30 pounds, and it felt great and it was fantastic. But then I would always go back to eating a high carb diet afterwards, without an understanding of the mechanisms that and how the body actually works. And so I would have success, then I'd gain it all back. And they call that yo-yo dieting, up and down, up and down, up and down. And over the course of, from the age of 16 to I'm 34 right now, I've lost thousands of pounds. And that sounds insane. How can you lose thousands of pounds? Because I lose, 50 here, go back up, 50 here, go back up, 50 here, go back up, 100 here, go back up. And what's really interesting is it's only really been in the last 3 years where everything has come together in the piece of the puzzle on an intellectual mind knowledge. It's really only been in the last year to year and a half where I've been able to lose weight and keep it off and not go back again. And a large part of that has to do with soul healing, the soul splits, healing those parts that are traumatized, healing those parts that want to self-sabotage you, that keep you in the cycle, healing the critic in your mind that constantly blames you and puts you down, and then healing the part of you that wants to go binge. So this is multidimensional, this is multifaceted, but I want to focus on just the nuts and bolts of what it means to have a healthy diet. And I want to talk about something called ketosis. What is ketosis? So I've been shocked to talk to people and realize they've never even heard of ketosis. See, for me, the first time that I learned about ketosis was back when I was like 18, before it was even a diet. Like keto wasn't even a diet yet, and I was learning about ketosis. And there wasn't much information on it yet. There was like one person on YouTube that had been eating keto for like 3 years, but they didn't even call it keto diet. They just called it low carb. And so I started diving into understanding the mechanism behind it. And so I really want to share this because ketosis is actually a metabolic state of the divine. Ketosis is an ascended metabolic state. Why do I say that? Well, I'm going to give you a number of reasons why I believe ketosis is by far the best way to live your life as far as metabolism and health goes, because it's actually the default mode that our body goes to, that God created our body to go into when we fast. Okay? And so in every religion across the world, especially in Christianity, we see Jesus fasting for 40 days. When you fast, do this. And there's a lot of talk about fasting. Why is fasting so important? Why is ketosis so important? So first of all, what is ketosis? Ketosis is a metabolic state that allows your body to not just burn sugar anymore, but to burn your own fat. So there's two different fuel sources. There's actually more, but we're just going to keep it simple on this video. There's two different fuel sources that our cells can actually utilize to give us energy. So I'm going to use the analogy of a car. There's a car, right? And imagine it's a hybrid car. So you can either plug that car in to get electrical energy, which is a nice, very clean energy. There's no waste coming off, or you can use gas or diesel. You ever seen a big diesel truck like rip in front of you and all this black smoke's coming out the back, and you got to put your windows up, and you're like, man, that's just noisy and it's polluting the earth. And that's that's like the difference between the two modes of operation. Ketosis is like the electric car, and sugar burning or carb burning, glucose burning, is like that diesel truck for your cells. There's a lot of waste products that go into your cells with burning glucose. Whereas with ketosis, there's virtually no waste products. And so it's really, really interesting because we as humans want to have the ability to burn both fuels. But because we've been eating so much sugar, so much processed food, so much carbs our entire life, the body, whenever we eat, our blood sugar goes up, and because our blood is full of sugar, the blood needs to regulate that. So the most regulated thing in your body is your blood, because if your blood gets too high of a pH, too low of a pH, too much blood sugar, not enough sugar, you die really quickly, because it provides the life force energy to all of your organs. So your blood is constantly regulated. So whenever we eat, our blood sugar goes up, especially if we're eating high carb foods, bread, rice, pasta, cereal, these kind of things, even starchy vegetables, fruits, these kind of things. It spikes your blood sugar up, and then insulin goes in. Insulin's like a little carrier molecule, like a little cart, to pull the sugar out of your blood and put it into the cell so that the mitochondria, which is like the engine of your cell, can burn it. Okay? And so what's really important about this to know is that when we are in a state of ketosis, we are no longer using sugar and burning all that diesel fuel and creating all of that, those waste products in our body. So these waste products are things called inflammatory cytokines. They are oxidation. And it creates a lot of inflammation, a lot of byproducts, junky byproducts that are in our cells that get stored in our bodies. And this is just a result of burning glucose. So why is ketosis so important? Let's talk about it. Here are the benefits. Benefit number one, it is the door to autophagy. What is autophagy? In 2015-16, there was a Nobel Peace Prize won about autophagy. So autophagy is a Latin word, and it means auto means self, and phagy means eating. Autophagy, self-eating or self-cleaning. It is the ability of your cell to start to clean itself. So all of those byproducts, all of that inflammation, all of that junk that has been built up in all of our cells for all these years, all of our fat cells, all of our organ cells, all this stuff, it actually gets eaten and cleaned out when we get into a state of ketosis. That's why anybody who's done a fast for longer than 3 days, 7 days, 10 days, 21 days longer knows how good you begin to feel, knows how clean and clear you begin to feel. You start to sleep less. Your body starts to work way more efficiently. That's because of autophagy. Autophagy is actually the mechanism that begins to clean our cells so that there's no junk buildup, that there's no gunk buildup. So imagine if you haven't cleaned your brain cells for 30 years because you've been on a high carb, high sugar diet, and you've never trained your mitochondria, you've never trained the powerhouse in your cell. So imagine your cell is the car. I'm going to explain mitochondria for a second. Imagine your cell, your individual cell is the car. The mitochondria is the engine, okay? So if you have only a gas or a diesel car, you can only burn gas or diesel. Most of us in North America and Western society only have gas and diesel cells. We can only burn sugar. Whereas when we train our body, when we get our body into ketosis, we deprive our body of sugar, the fuel source that we think is primary, but it's really not. Because if we looked at our ancestors above the equator, they were eating largely meat, fat, and protein from animal products, dairy, these kind of things. They would have been in a state of ketosis 95% of the time. Why? Because that is the way that God has designed our bodies. We've been told that ketosis is a starvation mode or an issue, and that it's not healthy in mainstream society. Why? Because all of the big box stores and corporation, Nestle, Monsanto, all of these corporations make their money off extreme monocrop agriculture. So they are constantly putting out products in boxes that are full of processed crap, refined GMO grains, lots of extra sugar, and they make their money that way. And they've influenced the Canadian Food Guide, the American Food Guide. They've influenced these things where at the bottom we're supposed to be getting 14 grams of grains and cereals and breads and pastas every day. Well, guess what? For the average human being, that is way too much carbs. We're never going to burn that off to get into ketosis so that we can enter autophagy, so that we can clean the cells. Imagine you've never cleaned your brain cells and you just have brain fog all the time, or you can't think properly, or you can't sit down to do a meditation to heal your soul because there's too much going on. You hear all these things. Things are out of balance. Neurotransmitters are out of balance. Hormones are out of balance. Why? Because you haven't entered autophagy. You haven't entered self-cleaning. You haven't entered the state where you can actually begin to clear out all the junk and all the bullshit, and you can allow your body to start to burn its own fat for fuel. Okay, so that's number one. Ketosis, the first benefit is ketosis is the doorway to autophagy. It is the doorway to cleaning our cells. Number two, ketosis, the ascended state of ketosis, is actually the doorway to another process of the mitochondria in the cell called apoptosis. So when we go into ketosis, our mitochondria actually build new machinery. It's like it's not just an engine to burn gas and diesel anymore, but it's actually and it builds an electrical engine there too. So we can actually start to use the electrical ketones, fatty acids for fuel, instead of the glucose, which is much more harmful as far as waste products go. So we get into ketosis, and ketosis is the door to another very important process called apoptosis. Number 2, ketosis is the door to apoptosis. What's apoptosis? Apoptosis is like autophagy, but just farther down the line. So when you have been in autophagy for a while, when you've been in ketosis for a while, you get into autophagy. When you've been in autophagy for a while, you can get into apoptosis. Apoptosis is actually the mitochondria in the cell, the powerhouse, the engine goes, okay, this cell is irreparable. So apoptosis means cell death. It means the cell actually eats and kills itself, a programmed suicide, a programmed destruction, if you will, so that because the cell is damaged in some way. So if there's a cell that's damaged, it may have a propensity to become a cancer cell. It may have a propensity to become very sluggish and slow and actually cause some sort of disease in your body. So apoptosis will actually write the program of cell death, and it will allow the other cells to destroy that cell so that you don't ever actually have to get that cancer tumor in your body. But if you're never reaching autophagy, if you're never reaching apoptosis, then you're going to have growths, you're going to have skin tags, you're going to have boils, you're going to have different things that grow on your body because your body's not cleaning itself. And so that's very important. With apoptosis, the cell actually destroys itself. So the mitochondria, it's like you press the red button and it goes and then it blows up and it destroys that cell. So it cancels physical disease in your body. Autophagy and apoptosis are very important because, especially with brain function, I'm very, very focused, or I think brain function is very, very important. The leading theory right now in 2022 about consciousness is actually there's something in our brain called microtubules in the brain, and they are what the scientists now think are responsible for transmitting and receiving the universal mind of all that is, the consciousness around us. So the interface between the divine and us is actually resulted in the microtubules in our brain, in brain cells. But if our brain cells if we have a bunch of sick brain cells or a bunch of clogged up brain cells, they're never entering autophagy, they're never destroying the ones that are very sick with apoptosis, then we're never going to connect to the divine in the way that we think. We're never going to have good meditations. We're never going to be clear enough. We're never going to see synchronicities. We're never going to, have the number repeating patterns. We're never going to be able to have a consciousness and awareness and attention long enough to be able to sit and manifest the life that we want, to be able to upload and feel the good things that we want in life. Okay, so very, very important keys. Ketosis is the ascended state and the door into apoptosis and autophagy. Okay. Number 3, third benefit of ketosis. Ketosis is in the mitochondria, when the mitochondria begins to build the machinery to not just be that sugar diesel gas burner anymore, but to burn electrical energy or ketones. It is a much more clean energy. So what that means is that it is 4 times the amount of energy that you get per one molecule. So if you compare glucose and ketones together, one ketone being made by the mitochondria opposed to using sugar brings you 4 times the amount of energy, 4 times the amount of energy in your body, in your cells that you can utilize. And it's way cleaner. So this comes down to like working out, to lifting weights, to movement of any kind. You ever like not work out for a while, then you work out and you just feel really sore, or even you just going for a walk or a run, or you're working in the garden, you bend over and you got all these aches and pains. It's because you have a lot of glycation end products, a lot of inflammation, inflammatory cytokines that are a result of oxidation from burning sugar. If you were in ketosis, that inflammation would be reduced way down. And that is the fourth thing. Ketosis lowers inflammation. Ketosis lowers the inflammation in your body, and it burns out all the crap so that you can function properly, so that you can have better skin and nails, better hair, better systems and organs internally, better brain function, better heart function. So you will have, who wants more energy? I want more energy. Everybody wants more energy, because the more energy you have, the more you can do in life. And so when you're in a state of ketosis, your mitochondria are actually producing 4 times the amount of energy than they would be if you were burning sugar. Why is that important? Just as kind of a side note and tying it into spiritual things. Mitochondria, a byproduct of them burning ketones for energy, or glucose, but ketones because it's 4 times more, is actually water. And I'm going to talk about this in a future episode, that the water in our body is not a solid, liquid, or a gas. It's actually a 4th state of water that scientists have found recently called EZ water, exclusion zone water. Okay, and it's a highly charged solution of electrolytes in our body with salt, potassium, magnesium, these kind of things to help us, because we're electromagnetic beings, as we've realized that our heart is an electromagnetic organ, while our entire bodies are actually electromagnetic in nature. We are not just these flesh and blood and meat suits that we've thought for all these years. We are actually much more quantumly connected than we ever thought before. And so this is quantum nutrition, quantum health that I'm teaching you right now, because the reactions in our body aren't just random reactions. It's all controlled quantumly by our circadian rhythms and our clock, which actually has to do with sunlight. That's why I'm sitting out here getting sun right now, because I'm receiving the downloads and the energy that my mitochondria and my cell needs to be able to have an in-depth talk and conversation with you about this, to be able to feel good, to be able to function well. So ketosis is 4 times the energy, and the mitochondria produces this exclusion zone water in your body, which actually enhances communication across all the cellular network in your body, all the organs, everything. Another byproduct of the mitochondria in ketosis, the energy in the cell, the engine of the cell burning ketones and getting this 4 times energy, is that it creates heat. It creates light. Heat and light are synonymous. They are another energy. So when Jesus said, "You are the light of the world," guess what? You are the light of the world. Your mitochondria, especially when you're in ketosis, is producing 4 times more light, 4 times more heat and energy than you are when you're a sugar burner. So you have 4 times the energy when you allow your cells to build the cellular network, the mitochondrial function of ketosis in your body. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next one. Number 4. So just to recap, number 1 and 2, ketosis is the doorway to autophagy, the doorway to apoptosis. It increases energy production 4 times, which creates 4 times more light, 4 times more heat, and 4 times more exclusion zone water, which is the quantum highway in your body to actually relay communications. And it is number 4. What was number 4? Ketosis lowers inflammation. Ketosis lowers your inflammation in such a way that you can clear out all the junk and you will not be as sore, whether you're working out, working in the garden, taking the dog for a walk, playing with the grandkids, whatever it is. Ketosis lowers aches and pains, because aches and pains are a cause of inflammation, and inflammation is the root of every disease. So it lowers your inflammation, which fights disease, but it also cleans your cells, which fights disease. So it's a double whammy. It hits health and disease prevention and fighting from multiple angles. Number 5, ketosis. We've talked a little bit about this, but ketosis is amazing of burning fat. It's amazing for burning your bodily tissue, which is not muscle because it's muscle preserving, but it's really good at burning the unwanted fat in your body. So it's great for weight loss. It is great for getting to your ideal body weight, for feeling and looking good. Okay? And who doesn't want to feel and look good? Who doesn't want to be at their ideal body weight? Who doesn't want to live the life where they can do the things that they want to do, opposed to being hindered by, I'm too tired, I'm too sick, I'm too sore? Okay? Ketosis will help you get to your ideal body weight because it'll allow your body to start to build the machinery to burn the fat on your body. Have you ever gone on a diet and, like Jenny Craig or Weight Watchers or something, where you're still eating very high carb, but you're just doing low calories, and then you start to do it and you start to feel kind of sick, or you have tremendous food cravings, and you never really actually lose weight, or if you do, you can't keep it off? It's because when your body goes to burn the fat, if you haven't built the cellular mitochondrial machinery in your cells to burn the fat, then you're gonna feel sick, you're gonna feel nauseous, you're gonna have these issues because you haven't given your body 1 to 3 months to learn how to build the machinery to actually burn the fat. And so it's really important that we give ourselves sufficient time when starting keto. I would recommend 1 to 3 months to begin to burn the fat. Does that mean you can never have a carb meal again? No, because ketosis is meant to be a state where you burn fat, but then you can flip over and become that diesel burner or that gas burner and burn sugar for a while if you want. So once a week, a couple times a week, I will go and have my favorite food, sushi. I will go and have a high carb meal, and it will fill me up, and it will give me a different type of fuel, and it will help me with my workouts. I just don't have that stuff every day because I constantly live now in a state of autophagy, where I'm cleaning myself, where I'm using my fat for fuel, where I'm receiving downloads from the divine, where I'm able to live in harmony with nature and who I've been created to be. And ketosis is a door to that, because without it, I'm stuck in brain fog, I'm stuck in anxiety, I'm stuck in feeling sick, I'm stuck in being sore, I'm stuck in not being able to do anything. Another one. Number 6. So number 5 was ketosis helps you lose weight. It helps you burn your fat for fuel. When you start to burn your fat breaks down into ketones. There's 3 different types of ketones. There's acetoacetate, acetone, and beta-hydroxybutyrate, or beta-hydroxybutyric acid. These are the result of us burning down our own fat. These ketones, like the sugar, go into our bloodstream, and our body uses them for fuel. Now, your brain, when it starts to function on ketones instead of sugar, you feel way better. You feel crystal clear. You feel connected. You feel honed in. There's no anxiety. You feel those moments where you're able to just look at the leaves and the trees, and you can see the light coming through them. You can see the space in between the trees. You feel connected. Lights are brighter, colors are brighter. These are the kind of things that you can expect when you're living in ketosis. We've all had these moments of extreme presence, but when you're truly in ketosis, you feel connected. You're dialed in. Okay, so that is 6. Brain function increases tremendously. When you're in ketosis, just a little bit of science of it, your body actually starts to produce something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. Why is BDNF important? BDNF is important because it actually it's shown to increase neurogenesis. What's neurogenesis? Neurogenesis is the production of new neural networks, new brain cells. There's another lie of the old paradigm that's falling away, that we can't change our brain, that we're stuck with the brain that we got, we're stuck with the genetics that we got. Wrong. Ketosis flicks the genetic switches epigenetically to be able to change and optimize your body. So if you've been struggling with type 2 diabetes for 10 years, you can adopt a ketogenic diet, among other things that I'll talk about, and you can reverse your type 2 diabetes. I had pre-diabetes when I gained a lot of my weight, and I was nearly 300 pounds, and I was my BMI index was morbidly obese. I've been obese a few times. And I wanted to say that I recently got my genetics tested a year ago, and the woman was shocked because she's like, Daniel, like, your genetics are actually the same as a morbidly obese postmenopausal woman. A lot of the patients that I deal with have the same genetic display as you. And she was shocked about it because she's never seen a man have genes like this. She's never seen somebody with as jacked up hormones as I've had. So when I'm talking about these things to you, I'm not talking like, oh yeah, you know, like like the 20-year-old version of me who just lost weight really quickly and was able to win that contest. I know how it feels to be an athlete and lose weight. The decade or so of alcohol, drug, sleepless nights, fast food, all of the worst stuff that I could have done for my body caught up and flicked all my genetic switches into a way where it caught up with me really quick. And so I've had to radically adopt and dive deep into everything that I'm telling you to optimize my own health and my own life. And it's been a journey of a number of years to get to this point. So it's not just, I'm not just speaking flippantly about these things going, oh yeah, you know, like this might work. This is how the body works. This is quantum science for the body. This is how we can heal ourselves. This is how we can come into our ideal body weight, our ideal brain function, our ideal spirituality and connection. And from there, everything, our relationships get better. Our ability to create wealth gets better. Everything increases in the way that we want. Our meditation and who we are co-creating from our heart and manifesting our reality gets more seamless. Synchronicities start to increase. That's why I call ketosis the doorway to all of these things. The ascended state of metabolism, the ascended metabolic state. Okay, so because ketosis also is increasing your energy production 4 times and it is producing more light, it increases your vibration. It increases your ability to connect with the field. So that's just a little bonus coming in there. What else did I want to talk about ketosis? So number 6 was that it builds ketones and it burns body fat. Okay, so it burns body fat for fuel. And it helps you lose weight, and it uses ketones, which are a much more fuel efficient source of fuel. Brain function. Ketones can pass the blood-brain barrier. Now, everybody's said that sugar is the only fuel source that your brain can use. Well, there is cutting-edge research now that shows that actually type 2 like Alzheimer's and dementia are actually a form of type 3 diabetes of the brain. It is us consuming sugar so much, high carb diets so long in our life that by the end of it, our brain cells just can't absorb this sugar anymore. And so if you take an external ketone supplement and give it to an Alzheimer's or a dementia patient, they will actually have a regain on some level of cognitive function. If you get their entire body into ketosis, even better. So there's studies that have gone out with football players in the NFL that have actually, you know, they get really bad concussions. A lot of those guys like have to end their career early because they get such bad concussions. What's a concussion? A concussion is when you get hit so hard in your brain that your brain shuts off so it can't take sugar up. So when your brain doesn't get fuel, it's actually starting to die. And so in that time of the concussion, your brain doesn't have access to fuel and it starts to shut down and it starts to not work properly. It causes all sorts of problems. Well, now what they're doing is they're giving a ketone ester to football players that have just had a concussion so that their brain can start to run on ketones so they don't have the extended damage that they would if they didn't give them that. Because it turns out that ketones are 100 times or more effective at passing the blood-brain barrier into the brain to give us optimal brain function than sugar is. Who would have thought? So all across the board, everything, ketosis is this metabolic state of ascension. It helps us in so many ways. Number 7, if you have diabetes, heart disease, cancer, something like this, there's tons of studies about the ketogenic diet, or I don't even like to call it a diet because keto, everybody's at a different place and some people can get away with more carbs. Like when I first started eating keto, it took my body a long time to adapt, but I didn't understand sunlight. I didn't understand sleep. I didn't understand stress. I didn't understand cold. I didn't understand all these facets of quantum health that we need to put together to really optimize our health. Okay. So, I had one more. Oh yeah, blood sugar regulation. If you have diabetes and you have insulin resistance, which means that your body is not able to insulin is not able to signal and take the sugar out of your blood and put it into the cell. See, every time you eat sugar, insulin is like a little cart and it comes to pick the sugar up out of your blood and put it into your cells. And when it puts it into your cell, it stores it as fat. So all the sugar you're eating, all the carbs you're eating is just getting taken out of your blood really quickly and stored as fat. But when you eat a nice fatty meal, it actually does not get stored as fat right away. Your body has a chance to burn it. And if you do intermittent fasting or you fast a little bit, your body will actually tap into your own fat stores and you'll burn your own fat. So the idea with ketosis is at the very beginning, you want to be able to burn someone else's fat, burn an animal's fat, eat a lot of fat. But then after a while, you can taper off eating so much animal fat after your body's built the cellular hardware to burn fat, and then you can start to burn your own fat. So it's really awesome. With that, you're not getting the spikes in blood sugar. So number 7 is you can stabilize your blood sugar because you're not having to eat 3, 5, 6 small meals a day with a bunch of carbs in it. You're not snacking anymore. You're able to eat one meal in the morning and go all the way to dinner if you want, or you can fast all the way to dinner. Many people find that. I do that quite often. Why? Because I'm not hungry anymore because I'm so dialed in to this ketogenic state that I'm able to burn my own fat, which is fantastic. And so that lowers blood sugar, that lowers ADHD symptoms, memory problems, it lowers diabetes, it lowers insulin resistance, and it begins to heal and reconcile all of these issues in our body. So this has been a video on ketosis. Just to recap, ketosis is a metabolic state where your mitochondria begin to install the cellular machinery to be able to break down fat for fuel, which is a much more efficient fuel source than sugar. It is the doorway to autophagy, which is self-cleaning to clear out all the old junk. It is the doorway to apoptosis, which is programmed cell death so that your cells don't go on to become cancer cells. It is 4 times more powerful at producing energy in the body and in upgrading your light body. It is 4 times more powerful at giving you energy to be able to do the things that you want in life, to get out and go for a walk, to play with those grandkids, to do the things that you want to do. It gives you better control of your blood sugar. It increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. It makes your brain better. It creates a doorway so that you can connect with and clean the microtubules in your brain so that you can connect to source, so that you can connect to God better. It begins to open up. You begin to see the patterns in life. You begin to see the synchronicities in life. You begin to see these things coming to fruition, and you begin to be able to manifest the life that you want because you're not all jammed up. You're not all clogged up. And last but not least, you're able to burn your own fat, and it's tremendous for weight loss. So this has been the video on ketosis. I'm going to do some more videos. I'm going to talk about sunlight. See, ketosis is just one pillar to divine health. There's other pillars. Sleep and sunlight is another pillar. Sleep, sunlight, and circadian rhythms, which is actually the place that we receive the information to be able to have our bodies and cells optimized. We're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into cold exposure and the benefits of cold exposure and how cold exposure actually is very important for the mitochondria. See, mitochondrial function is the new paradigm. It's the new quantum understanding. All the 99.99999% of information that's out there about, every campaign, I'll just put it this way, every campaign that's gone towards cancer research or heart disease or diabetes and all these millions of billions of dollars, that's part of, don't you think there'd be a cure by now? The reason why is because we're looking at the cell's nucleus, which is our human DNA. But in the nucleus of the cell, there's also another DNA, an alien DNA, if we could call it, called mitochondria. These mitochondria, or energies in the cell, are not human DNA. They're actually a prokaryote DNA, which means there's a bacterial DNA. And whether you believe in God or evolution, God put them in Adam from the beginning and merged them with our cellular DNA so that they could provide energy for us. Or if you believe in evolution, millions of years ago, this prokaryote mitochondrial DNA, alien DNA, merged into our cells so that it could provide energy to our eukaryote DNA, which is our nucleus and our in our cell. And so this merger that took place, or whether you want to combine the two and realize that the loving divine source of all that is actually creates through evolution, and the loving intelligence actually made this happen by divine design. And so when we had these mitochondria come into our cell to provide fuel, it's like we source out our energy production to these alien bacteria in our body, okay? So when we source out our energy production to these mitochondria, guess what? The mitochondria have a set of their own DNA. But all the cancer research, all the heart disease research, all the diabetes research has been about our DNA, the nucleus of our cell. But nobody's looked at the mitochondria. Guess what happens when the mitochondria shut down? No more energy production. So guess what? You have mitochondria in your heart, in your brain, in your kidneys, in your liver. And guess what? When you get heart disease, guess what's happening? The mitochondria in your heart are stopping to produce energy. So your heart begins to shut down. When you start to have problems in your brain, when you start to get cancer, it's all a mitochondrial disease. So this is a paradigm shift that the world's coming into right now, that the world doesn't know about yet, because they're still studying. And I truly believe that the scientists at the top do know this. That it's always been about mitochondria. It's always been about energy production, but they have been putting all of the money into the nucleus of our genes, trying to figure and sort that out, when really it's always been about energy production. And so that's what this quantum health stuff is about that I'm going to be releasing to you. Sunlight is an integral thing in mitochondrial health, mitochondrial energy, mitochondrial information. Same with the cold, same with sleep, same with meditation. This is where the culmination of the spirit, body, and mind come together so that we can live in harmony with the divine, with source, with each other, with oneness, with our environment, that we're not separate, inflamed, brained, fragmented people stuck in depression, anxiety, and the illusion of separation. We need to connect back into the grid, and we can do this through cleaning ourselves, through autophagy. So ketosis is the first step. If you'd like to work with me to help me, and I'll be making more videos about ketosis, but if you'd like to work with me, I can teach you about ketosis. I am a certified quantum health coach, and I can help you literally regain the best version of yourself. It doesn't matter if you're 40, 50, 60, 70, or even 80. People are reversing their health all around the world with this knowledge, and it's fantastic. So reach out if you want to learn more about this. If you want to do a session, I have coaching packages available for health coaching, and we can go from there. I love you guys, and have a great day.